Anthony, we got a lot going on today's show, so I think we should keep this open short. Yeah.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Anthony Melchiori, so great to see you, brother. How are you today?
It's great to be seen.
Yeah, man. So great. So great to have you here. Now, listen, we have got a killer show today. We got the CEO of Sonesta Hotels International, Carlos Flores. I'm so excited to have Carlos on the show. But we're going to be focusing on autism today. And we're going to have our friend Bruce Ford report from the Magic Kingdom about all the crowds that are going over there. But first, Anthony, before we get into that, you know what? I've got to tell Lurian you something. That's right. Tellurian, for the good folks at Eco Tech Waste, you know this garbage cans by now. Now they come in both black and white. And as your business gets back on track, what a great way to save labor. Particularly, Anthony, I'm thinking, all these meeting rooms and stuff like that. Why pay people to wash all those bins out, et cetera, et cetera? Just get the Tellurian. Right now, either black or white. They got these starter packs, Anthony. They got all this great stuff over there. And they even got a new size right now. Now, Anthony, you could buy them on Amazon.com. But if you buy direct and tell them No Vacancy sent you, you'll get an extra 10% off. What do you think about that?
Get out of here.
I'm serious.
I think you're lying to everybody that you use it, because every time I see it, it looks beautiful and clean. Or mine always looks like it's being used.
Because Carlos Flores is on today, and he's such a esteemed guest, I whipped out a new one for today. I want to see him how I really live over here,
So, Glenn, where aren't you today?
I am. Well, let's see if our guest knows. Carlos Flores, welcome to the show, sir. How are you, man?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Great. So, do you notice I am not at your Kauai property today, sir?
I notice exactly where you are not, but that's a wonderful image of one of the largest swimming pools there in the Greater Hawaiian Islands.
Look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at that.
Wow. You know what I like about that pool? Is you each have your own little pool cabana in the water. Like you have your own little space. I like that.
Yes. This day and age, social distancing in the water, that's a selling point.
That's right.
Excellent. I love it. So, sir, thank you so much for joining us again today and making time for us. Now, we've been trying to get you back on for a while, but we wanted to make sure that you were all set. My goodness, have you been busy over this past year? For those who haven't been watching, you guys recently acquired Red Lion Hotel Corporation. You've been getting a lot of properties from SVC transferred into your system. You started a brand new franchising division. My goodness, Carlos, how are you doing it all? And a big congratulations on the biggest moves that we've seen in the hotel business.
Glenn, I would just say that it all seemed to happen right after the last time he was on. So
you stole the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly where I was going. It all go thanks to you two.
That's what I'm thinking. As soon as it was
my springboard. Thank you.
We try to help.
Yeah. So, Carlos, take us through all of this. Maybe let's work a little bit backwards. Most recently, you launched the franchising division on the heels of purchasing Red Lion Hotels Corporation. I'm excited to see Keith Pierce is back in the business running that division. He's somebody that he's been around for years. He worked at Wyndham for years. He actually helped create the Wingate brand many years ago. My friend Brian Quinn is now working with you. Another great get over there. Tell us a little bit about how RLH and the franchising division and stuff came together for you and how that fits into your overarching strategy right now.
Yeah, so we're in the midst of all the change that had already been afforded to us, that we started thinking about, well, what comes next? And we've been familiar with Red Lion for many years. We'd engaged into discussions with them and just never really kind of took it as far. But when we started thinking about what next as being domestic franchising, then we really revisited the Red Lion organization, and they were ready for discussion. and made for a ready answer on how we could get our platform up and running and of significant scale sooner than later. So the definition of strategic, if you will. And that's when so Keith has been a known asset, he's been around the industry for a while, so known commodity. I personally haven't had an opportunity up until Redline to become more familiar myself personally with Keith, which has been a wonderful exploration. Keith's an amazing person, human, not to mention just a great consummate professional. And so when we had all those pieces and parts together in the midst of all the craziness and looking about the turn of the year and said, let's go. And that's exactly what we did. And that's kind of how we run the organization is that, when you have smart, capable people surrounding you, you may not have all the answers to every, and the mantra is just we'll figure it out in flight. And not to suggest that we don't have plans, but you're not going to be able to detail it all. And there's a lot going on, and things have been wonderfully progressing ever since we essentially reached the agreement just shy before the end of the year. And then we closed in March, and Keith has got clear marching orders to get that platform up and running, but also care for the business that they're in place, right? It's a 900 plus portfolio of hotels and a very large ownership community that we need to and want to care for and be part of our long-term story. So Keith, it's been wonderful to get to know Keith at a very intimate level.
Yeah, in about 12 months, you'll have your report card from the ownership association, so to speak. Whereas, everybody gets a little bit of a honeymoon, but it's going to be a pretty quick report card of how you guys launched that. But what I love about what you said was, when you have that experience and you have all these great talented people around you, you just can't cross all the T's and dot all the I's when you're doing something so massive, but you're going to change the tire as the car's moving. And when you have experienced people, you can do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And to your point, Anthony, we have a highly engaged ownership community over at Red Lion. So those midterm reports are already coming in. I say that facetiously. It's still a relatively, and it's wonderful. That's a great, that dialogue. As we spoke about last time, this is a relationship business. So let's start that relationship yesterday.
But if it doesn't work out well, do what I do. Just blame Glenn.
I'll rely on that.
Yeah, he's thrown me over on so many buses. I have actual track marks on me, on my waist over there. But Carlos, it's interesting to me. How does something like this even come up? I understand how you acquired all the properties through the SVC relationship, et cetera, et cetera. But does John Russell, the former CEO of Redline Hotels Corporation, call you up? Do you call him? Do you just get word on the street? How does these conversations begin? And what are they like in their early stages going through?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably no specific path, but you named some of the traditional. Sometimes they're out and it's very public. You read in the media, people are looking at strategic alternatives under the direction of the board. That's a clear sign. Sometimes we'll get a call. Other times we'll hear of somebody who's gotten into a conversation that doesn't seem like it's going to consummate, so it gives you an opportunity to kind of step in. Other times you got to kind of wedge the door open to have those conversations. Perhaps it's through another medium like a partnership or something to that matter. In this case, Redline had been pursuing other opportunities, and so talking to the board, talking to John Russell, who's also great, and talk about another great human. Super great guy. And
also, just so everybody knows, also out of the Wyndham family, he ran Sendin back when that was the pre-Wyndham name, as a matter of fact. So now I'm starting to see the Keith Pierce connection a little bit more.
Yeah, it's familiar, and it made for a great fit, right, for us and for a new part of our organization. That's really kind of the discussions that we just had our first collective Sonesta Red Lion all hands meeting. So it was the first opportunity to have, the entire organization on the same call, and really kind of redefining us and them to we. And that's, really where this post M&A part of we are right now, and having people like Keith Pierce, part of the organization, coming in, known commodity, understand, and have a lot of expert credibility from day one really helps kind of blend. We're human, right? Change doesn't, as much as we realize the necessity.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I just want to say that Harry Sladich is one of our favorite people. So I hope he has a great career with you guys over there. He was originally at Red Lion. For those of you who don't know, he's an EVP that was over there. Anthony, you got a question, or should I continue down my path?
Continue down. I am absolutely mesmerized by your ability to question.
I'm sure. Well, Carlos, to be fair, I used to be interrogated a lot by the cops when I was young.
That is so untrue. You were the last person to get in trouble because you were always in your house playing video games.
Hey, let me tell you, Anthony, you make fun, but I was really good at the original Nintendo 8-bit system.
But it's funny when growing up, if you were in your house playing video games, you were the weird kid. Now, like if you're out on the street having a cat, you're the weird kid.
I'm still the weird kid.
But I do have a question. I'm sorry, Carlos. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask Glenn what was the first console? What was what got connected to the
Carlos,
UHF channel? Yeah.
You're opening up a lot of wounds with me. I desperately wanted Atari because all my friends had Atari, but my dad said you have to get in television because it was more upscale.
Round controller thing, yeah.
Right. Little did he know that the first games that came with it were blackjack, poker, and a horse racing game. So I really got the fundamentals down of gambling at a very young age.
So my
fundamentals are important.
Yeah.
So my question, if I can ask one, with this growth, where are you with hiring people? Are you in a very, are you hiring, or have you hired everyone you're going to hire, or where are you?
Yeah, no, we're still in a hiring spree, so to speak. It's a unique position to be within the industry. We've staffed up tremendously since last time we spoke, and we've gotten a few above and beyond. We've spoken about Keith Pierce and Brian Quinn already, but Vera Manukian, who joined us most recently from Hilton, is building out her team on the operations side. In fact, we're probably got another announcement here that I can't announce just yet, but very shortly.
Sure you can.
What's that? Sure you can. And so we'll certainly break that. I'll send you a note afterwards.
Or you can put it on a private chat and nobody can see it.
That's all right. We don't want to give them a hard time. We'll wait a little bit longer for that. And what's interesting to me is you're also working, just the news broke today that you're collaborating with Cleaning Services Global and EarthSafe to offer testing solutions for meeting and events. So you're getting really serious for people coming back. So you got to hire all these people to make sure that you've got not only the staff at the office, but a lot of the properties have to be set for the resurgence in meetings. How are you seeing overall when it comes to hiring, your ability to be able to meet the needs of the properties? Because as you know, Carlos, a lot of people are finding that they can't find the right employees and therefore can't sell as many rooms as they'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in some regards a great problem to have, in the fact that we've got demand and we expect demand. So it's a wonderful place to be relative to the year that we just came from. Having that said, we certainly are not untouched by the challenges of the rest of the industry as it relates to finding sufficient staffing, particularly in a few key departments that are necessary to ramp up to satisfy the demand that's already kind of arrived, and what would you expect as we go into the summer season. So yeah, it's not without challenge. And we continue to persevere, right? We think we have a great story, exciting, particularly for people that want to strap themselves to a fast shooting rocket. This is a great opportunity, more than just a paycheck. It's it's a career. So we're fighting the good fight out there for talent along with everybody else. And some of it is going to be a situation where you just can't buy the talent. You got to build it. In some cases, you're training some folks. Having that said, if you're out there, you're looking for, we've got a pretty significant footprint here in the U.S. now. Right. So whether you're looking for a regional job, if you're looking for housekeeping, or you're looking for property, or even corporate roles, I'd encourage everybody to check out our careers page at sonesta.com.
So
that's what they call media training right there.
Right there, boom.
The first time I did media training when I was on a Travel Channel, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna bring you in for media training." Guy comes in, about 30 seconds in, he goes, "We're good." I go, "What do you mean we're good?" He goes, "You don't need media training. Just don't say anything stupid." I said, "Okay." And unfortunately, I lied to him and said a lot of stupid things. We know about the Sonesta deal, the ownerships that people that buy hotels know about the Sonesta deal, but how do you communicate that to your consumer, to your customer?
The actual transaction itself,
really. Well, you have many more hotels, and you're gonna, you're a much bigger company, and now all of a sudden you have a big seat at the table.
Sure. Well, I mean, when you think about the three primary stakeholder groups, right? You got owners, your employees, and your guests. The employees, fortunately, the likes of folks like yourself, Anthony and Glenn, because we've drawn a tremendous amount of attention within the industry. It's been newsworthy. I think that people that perhaps weren't familiar with the Sonesta brand now are, mainly because we've been able to draw so much attention. So that, for the most part, has been satisfied. You never really kind of give up on that, but the industry side of the piece, ownership, obviously, we've got a small group of stakeholders there dissatisfied who are well informed. As we look to grow, that will need to be continued to satisfy who we are, what can you expect, what is Sonesta, who we are as a company. That will be very important. On the brand side, so more specifically, when you're talking about the consumer, we need to make a tremendous amount of noise, both in terms of articulating who we are, what the options that we are. So we've done a tremendous amount of hiring in the past, as I mentioned, past several months, in terms of getting our sales force out and starting to beat the bushes. There's a lot of people that want to engage in conversations because of what they've heard within the industry, but the end consumer still has we have a lot of opportunity, particularly as it relates to the consumer, of educating who Sonesta is and who we are and who we think we ought to be, because this is we're building and growing, and the work's never done. So more to come as it relates to how we satisfy that last stakeholder group of the consumer.
Wow, our friend of the show says you got 1,230 jobs on the career page right now. So their opportunities are literally limitless. But Carlos, I'm curious about how do you see the brand positioning for all of these? I mean, for audience's sake, you have Royal Sonesta, Sonesta Select, Sonesta ES Suites, Sonesta Simply Suites. You've got the Cruise Collection, and then RLH, of course, has Nights Inn, Red Lion Hotels, the Hotel RL. Then you've got America's Best Value Inn, and those sorts of properties, Signature Inn. I feel like it could go on and on and on. How do you see about putting together all those puzzles so you could create, like the industry loves to say, those clear swim lanes for the consumer and make sure that you have a full panoply of brands that the customers truly understand what they mean?
Yeah, that was actually back to the Red Lion transaction itself. We saw a tremendous amount of compatibility or even complementary features of the Red Lion portfolio and Sonesta. So there wasn't a tremendous amount of overlap. And even where there is overlap, particularly on the extended stay side of the house, we see a tremendous amount of opportunity within the market. So not necessarily that they're redundant, but they may have better positioning within the market. So going top to bottom, you did a pretty good job for me, Glenn, and really kind of thinking about Royal Sonesta as being that upper upscale product type that's your traditional hotel,
Right.
much more, like the Royal Sonesta in the background behind you, one of our resort properties, to I just had an opportunity the other day to see our San Francisco property in downtown San Francisco, just off Union Square. It's just about, it has completed its renovation, beautiful product type. So an upper upscale down to our Sonestas, which are more traditional full service hotels, still upscale hotels. And then not to go through the entire portfolio, but we've got a meat of our extended stay products, both in terms of our legacy Sonesta ES Suites. It's been around since 2012, including our Simply Suites, which is our new mid-scale product that we introduced this past year as part of the growth that we've gone through. And then guest house, all of those extended stays play within a specific market. And so there's a story to be told for each one of them, and a market to be satisfied by that specific product and their positioning. And then all the way down into the more value focus, like Knights Inn and America's Best Value Inn, that are very specific, and they're firmly planted in the clear swim lanes that make sense for that product.
Right, Anthony?
So imagine after, the pandemic's hopefully coming to an end and things are starting to open up a little bit. The conversions, when people are looking to convert, going from one brand to your brand, what's the number one question that you see that's specifically tied to the last 12 to 18 months? What are you hearing when people are wanting to convert? What are their biggest concerns?
Well, I mean, pandemic or otherwise, when you're talking to an owner, their big question is capital. How much is it going to cost me to be a part of your organization, to buy into Sonesta? Capital is the big question regardless. And second is what's the expectation in terms of opportunities? What is the operating result? So what are you going to do for me on the top line? And more specifically, how are you going to tax my operations with your brand standards? We now come into that there's a long way around to answering your question, which is the realities of the environment that we're in. Safety and security has never been, it's always been, right? It's core to our charter, a clean place, a clean, safe place people to be when they're away from their home. That has been amplified because of the health concerns of the pandemic. We're still got one foot in this crisis. I've been very proud of the program that we've been able to put into place, now having had a front row and have real intimacy with how the other brands are doing and having converting so many. We know that we have a wonderful program that people should feel really comfortable with. And there is an operating cost reality to it, but making those smart decisions, there are things that we're doing that is practical, that really makes the environment safe, and people should be safe, not just compliance with CDC standards, but just, all pathogens that you can find in the environment, making sure that we have robust protocols into place, but also understanding that there is a correlation beyond perception as well. So back to my point on the top line, you may say, well, okay, show me the ROI on this particular activity as it relates to fundamentally reducing risk, and how do I realize that reduction in risk in terms of my operating results? I disagree. The perception, as we know, is equally important, because if you don't have those guests comfortable with the environment that they're walking into, it doesn't matter how efficient your operating is, because you just don't have the top line to support your operations.
Right.
So it's the complement of the two. So at the end of the day, it's the full package associated with your whole, we call it Stay Safe with Sonesta program.
Now, what about technology? Steve Durasmo is asking a great question about bringing it all together. Now, Red Lion Hotel Corporation has done a great job at staking out a claim with RevPAC, really bringing under a whole lot of different technology solutions under one roof. Is that a direction you're going with? Or are you going to use some of the traditional technology you had, something all new? And how do you bring two separate companies together so everyone can speak to each other in binary codes?
Yeah, so one of the realities of having a wonderfully vertically integrated offering, from the upper upscale all the way down to the value, is that you have to be conscious of, we can't paint with one brush. That which makes sense, right, for an upper upscale or pre-luxury, luxury offering absolutely doesn't comport down to economy. You want to have a very short ride. Try and have brand standards that apply for that entire stack. And so in some cases, we, particularly with Sonesta and our managed hotels, we have worked very hard to tailor our components or all the pieces or portfolio of our offering that make absolute sense for that segment. And what Red Lion has been able to do in finding a complement or their tech stack, if you will, is very appropriate for those product offerings. So in some cases, that mantra, that separation, that needs to stay in place. We'd be ill-informed to try and normalize that because we're playing in such a very, very different segments. So to answer the question, I think that was asked more specifically, it would be a combination of both. I think continue to involving that which makes sense to the segment of the market that we're offering. So throwing brand names out there, the Oracle Operas of the world make all the sense of the world for a lot of our operations. And I think that they become a little bit more challenged as you work a little bit further down. It doesn't mean that they don't. But we need to be really thoughtful about how we align that for our standards or how we are trying to operate these opportunities, how we manage these operations, specifically for the type of hotel.
Excellent. Okay, so we're almost out of time here. So I'm curious. I suspect you guys are going to be headed to the Hunter Hotels Investment Conference in a couple of weeks, or
That is absolutely right. In fact, the only reason why I'm rushing off the phone, I got a call with Chip over at who will be hosting or the panelist host of the panel that I'm on.
Excellent.
Chip Rogers.
But yes, Chip Rogers, he's of course the CEO of the AHLA. So let me ask you this, Carlos, are you ready to roll out a program for hoteliers that want to join the Sonesta family and build or convert to any of your brands?
Absolutely. When you think about the Red Lion, there's a small franchising disclosure process that the federal government does require. So we're not ready to sign people up on the Sonesta brands yet today, but we're moving wildly in that direction. So we'll certainly be talking about that and setting expectations. And certainly for the Red Lion brands, we'd love nothing more to welcome new hotels into the fold as immediate as today. So certainly out there, and the shingle is out, Glenn.
Excellent. I'm very excited for you guys, and I can't wait to see you down in Atlanta. Anthony, any final questions before we let him go to his meeting?
So apparently the next time you're going to be on, you're going to own Hilton and Marriott and all the other brands as well.
Yeah. If not all of them, most of them, I suppose. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, we have very lofty ambitions, and I hope to keep newsworthy and give us plenty of reason to talk.
Yeah, I wish we had a lot more time because you're an awesome personality. We could talk to you for forever and a day. I think so. Thank you so.
Thanks, Carlos.
Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Thanks for the
invitation. Last thing, if you guys ever need any media training, think of us, guys. We can help you out. All right. Shameless plug done. Thank you so much, Carlos. Be good. Thank you. All right. That was what an incredible professional he is, right? But Anthony, let's just roll right into our second of 3 interviews today. We have a surprise, the one and only Bruce Ford. I thought he was coming at us from the Magic Kingdom, but no. He is at Hollywood Studios, where I'm sure he has just been part of the rise of the resistance over there at Galaxy's Edge. Bruce Ford.
It's actually a sad event, Glenn. We did not make the early queue. So
yeah, what about
hoping for the 1 p.m.
when they released tickets at 12? Did you get
1 o'clock? 1 o'clock. So
all right.
We're working on that one, unfortunately. But we did get our droids this morning. Very fun at the Droid Depot. Toy Story Land, very busy. 2 parks so far at Disney. Hollywood Studios definitely feels more crowded than anywhere else that we've been. But pretty good on social distancing. Lines flowed pretty good. Haven't waited more than 40 minutes for any ride. And
40 minutes? That's too long for me to wait for anything.
Yeah, that's the most, though, and that's a lot less than it used to be. I was telling Ethan this morning as we were walking into Galaxy's Edge, I said, Ethan, this whole road that we're walking on for this 400 yards was full of people the last time I did this. Because I went last week in February, just before it closed. I was one of the last 10 days before it closed.
Right.
And it was crazy to try and get on the rides because you had to be in the park back then to do
How,
that.
how, old,
Dad did it for
how
me.
old's your son? How old you?
Ethan is 12, and
Okay.
Zoe's
Right.
6.5, and we have a newborn with us too, but they're not all with me right now. But great fun today at Hollywood Studios.
That's great. So you feel comfortable, you feel secure because now they say they're at 35% capacity and they're not doing any indoor shows at this time. Does it feel like 35% capacity? Because you're telling me you're waiting online for 40 minutes for these things. So
select indoor shows. The Disney Junior inside is open.
Mhm.
The PhilharMagic at the Magic Kingdom is open. It's the live action inside shows. If it's on a screen, they have those open. From a capacity standpoint, the most that we felt crowded was really around the Toy Story today, but also yesterday we waited. On Sunday we actually waited as long as 50 minutes for a Splash Mountain. And that was a long time.
And how's the hotel you're staying at? Are you happy with the hotel? Are you doing everything the right way?
So we learned that Old Key West, DVC Old Key West, had the largest 2-bedroom suites, and I can tell you, the 300 square feet makes a huge difference. We got a bottom floor room. We're about 200 yards from the pool, and just a short little ride to the main pool. So it actually worked out great. Very renovated space. It's been a good experience so far, and I can do this no mask from a restaurant inside, which is good. But if I walk outside, you got to have the mask on.
And are they policing that?
They are. We haven't had anybody in our group get asked yet, knock on wood. So it's been okay with that. But great so far. Going to go to Epcot tomorrow, and we're probably going to do nighttime at Hollywood Studios tonight. So we're going to go out and come back. And we've done the bus once and driving in once. Big thing, if you're an annual pass holder, I did the Droid Depot this morning. With Ethan, and we at the Droid Depot, you can actually get a discount as an annual pass holder.
that's fun.
One of those unknowns. Also at the Lego store in Disney Springs, I got an annual pass holder discount as well. So that was good. I'm totally renewing my pass, even though I might not go in the next 12 months. We'll see.
Well, I hope you do get to get back there. Bruce has been a Disney Vacation Club owner for a few years now.
10 years, just paid it off, Glenn. It's part of our
10 years already?
10
And what
years.
is it? Explain it to me. What is it?
So Disney Vacation Club is points where you can use them in any of their resorts or their hotels around the world, as well as within a select RCI group. There's 2 or 3 other affiliations that joined into that where you can use Disney points. But we bought enough 10 years ago to every other year we can go for a week in the 2-bedroom, and that was 180 points, cost just under $20,000 for that right at the time. And the maintenance fees are under $100 a month for that. So, and I own it for 42 years. When we
42.
Because it was 8 years into sales. So, and I can will that too. So my kids can have it, my grandkids can have it.
And so it's been well worth it, is what you're saying.
Yes. Oh, it's awesome.
Well, hopefully you'll stay healthy.
DVC is a great adventure. No, there's sanitation stations everywhere.
Right.
That's done well. The mask police is done well. I haven't seen any more meltdowns than usual, which is the under 5-year-olds. They melt down at any given time. You can see plenty of that.
Yep. Uh-oh. Bruce, we lost you. We lost your sound.
So
Back.
it's been really super good so far. I'm most excited to report that it's a safe experience, and we're enjoying it.
Well, they've also they've loosened the mask rules a little bit. You are now allowed to take your masks off for those family photos and stuff like that. So it's not as onerous. And
Bruce, I'm gonna guess that you don't wear just a regular mask. You wear a funny mask.
I think we
can't really hear you guys.
Yeah.
I said, can you hear me now, Bruce, or no? No. All right.
All right. We'll let it go. All right. See you later, buddy. Be good. All right. That was great. Fun having a roving reporter, right? We're like a real news show here.
I'd like to see his mask. You know, his mask is like a beard, right? Like it shows he has a beard on his mask or something. You know that.
I've got a friend that got the mask that's got the bottom half of his face on it, and it looks really just weird.
You know, before I was doing some calculations, I was sitting on the plane because I took an early flight this morning. I was in Clearwater beach yesterday on some business, and I'll tell you, it is beautiful down there. It is busy, and those beaches are gorgeous. But anyway, I was on the plane. I was doing calculations of how many shows we've done since the pandemic. Have you have any idea how many we've done on average? Well, not on average, a good guesstimate.
I would say 225.
I had 241.
All right. I don't know. Just guessing. I'm
It's
guessing. It's a lot of shows. A
Yeah.
lot of shows. As a matter of fact, I think next week on the No Vacancy feed, we'll be hitting 450 shows total. So that's pretty wild. All right.
Which we've done. We've done 450.
No, that's total. Because, I had a running count before we started doing the live shows together. So it's always confusing, but it's always fun to follow. All right. Now, one thing that we need to talk about is it's Autism Awareness Month. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand sensory issues, specifically when it comes to creating great hospitality experiences that engage families and those that have autism. And that's why we have with us today Mr. Alan Day. He's the CEO of Autism Double Checked. Welcome to the show, Alan. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Glenn and Anthony, thank you so much for having me on. It's love your broadcasts. It's a real privilege to be here.
Well,
Thank you very much.
So this is an issue that I think is really important. I feel in general, awareness about autism has really come to the fore in the last 10 years or so. I've got a brother-in-law who has Asperger's, so he's on the spectrum. And honestly, Alan, I never really thought about how hotels could go ahead and create a safe, inviting environment for folks that are on the spectrum from Asperger's through autism and all. So could you tell us a little bit about the organization to start with and how that fits into what hotels can do to achieve that?
It's fundamentally, there are a limited number of things that you can do to change the environment. You can do stuff like on request in a room, you can ask for breakables, like glasses and cups to go. Actually, come to that during the pandemic, not too many glasses and cups around. But if you could request in advance, please remove the breakables. Can we replace this with paper and plastic? Just makes it a little bit more accessible to kids who have poor body awareness and could end up endangering themselves breaking things. Because it's a spectrum, you're never going to get all of the sensory issues right. It's as much as you've got a lot of kids that have difficulties with high levels of noise, you've got a few that actually seek that input to a greater extent.
Interesting.
Really, what the hotel has to do is to describe what is there, and where possible to offer opt-outs. It's reception area. Is it possible for the parents to check in, but the kid to actually access the room via a side door so that they're not going through reception? If it is, tell the parents that and you've made it easier for them. If it's not, what can you do? And of course, we're now into expedited contactless check-ins anyway. Those will have helped. So it's really a question of gathering or curating the information. And it's something that we do sort of second nature now as to what can you put together. The other thing that hotels can do to make it much more hospitable is to look at every aspect of their operation and look at waiting times. You just had somebody on, your roving reporter from Disney. Waiting times are a real issue for a lot of kids on the spectrum.
That's right.
And if you are a hotel manager, you take a look at every part of your operations. Where are the waiting time bottlenecks? What can I do to reduce them? You've not only done this for the autism community, I'll guarantee that the rest of your clients are going to be happy too.
Yeah, right.
Now, you can take this one further. I've encouraged it in hotel restaurants where they will do it, is to allow a family to pre-order a meal. So that if they say, this is the meal we want, these are our menu selections, instead of turning up for a reservation at 7 p.m., they turn up at 7 p.m. for the meal, and the appetizers are served almost the second they sit down.
Wow.
That really does help. Not every place is prepared to do it. But again, if you can do it, it really helps.
I wonder if the parks like Disney and Universal, do they have any accommodations for waiting times for families with autism? They do?
They do. At Disney World, they have a program. I can't speak to Universal, but Alan, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you go to the ride and they will give you a pass that says come back in X amount of minutes, whatever the length of the line is, and then you can come back and you can get right on, correct?
Yeah, that sounds like a great accommodation for people with autism. We are what time? We're 12:40 p.m. Eastern time right now. And if I come along to a ride and they say, okay, yeah, come back at 2 p.m. Eastern. What do I do in between times?
Right.
You haven't really accommodated me.
Right.
Now, plenty of other theme parks do what Disney used to do.
Right.
They allow entry via the exit. If you think about it, as people file off a ride, the place is clear before they open the door to let the next lot in. So just let somebody with autism in through the exit, and they can be seated first. Disney had to stop that just because of capacity constraints.
Well, they also stopped it because there were people that had disabilities that became scam artists, and that they would sell their disability pass online, and they would give people a tour of that day, and they would skip the lines with that. Pretty rude, pretty nasty. And unfortunately, it put Disney on the defensive, which unfortunately, Alan, makes it much harder for families that have real issues, such as the ones that we're talking about today, to have an enjoyable experience in the theme park environment, right?
Yeah, it's a work in progress, Glenn. People learn stuff as they go along. I came across a theme park that were very proud you could get a pass for your child with autism.
Yes.
And they had a waiting area where one parent could wait with the children while the other parent got the pass.
Beautiful.
And I said to them, exactly how much help is that for a single parent family?
Right.
They looked at me like I'd got three heads. So, darn, we never thought about it.
Yeah, right.
So it's always a work in progress. You're never going to get it perfect for any family with autism, but you can continually improve.
And that's why it's so important to have people like you, Alan, to be on shows like this, to share this, to make people aware about what's happening. So let me ask you this. Does autism fall within ADA constraints? And what should hoteliers be thinking about if it does?
Technically, it does fall within ADA
requirements.
However, you've got nothing that you can particularly measure, like it's what's the angle of the ramp for the wheelchair. Is this room accessible by wheelchair? You don't have that type of guideline. What we have found, Glenn, is that when you ask parents, what do you need by way of special help? The overriding thing that they come up with is staff that understand what we need, or staff that understands our issues. And that was, we did a survey that was fascinating. 24% said it was important, and 71% said it was really important.
Interesting.
And sort of, that's really what these parents want, is understanding, so that when they explain, this is what's happening with my child, somebody will take appropriate action and not be judgmental and give them, what was one parent's description? The stares and the glares.
Yes.
Or just to be empathetic, even if you don't know really what to do, just being empathetic and being sensitive to their needs, even if they're not able to accommodate everything, at least the parent doesn't feel uncomfortable.
No, and it's part of the training that we offer when we're talking to staff is, what can you do if you see a child in real distress?
Yep. Where
the parents are going to be concerned. The onlookers are going to look at this kid and figure this is just a brat misbehaving. And it's not. It's a kid that is overwhelmed and they're communicating their distress the only way possible. What that member of staff can't do is just step in and start handing out gratuitous advice. That's actually not going to help. What they can do is say to the parents, I'm here to render any assistance that you may request. Would you like me to explain this to bystanders? And then the parents either will or won't agree to, would you explain it to bystanders?
Right.
But they've got that option. And that's been found to be very useful.
Yeah, that's got to be a relief for certain parents so they don't feel, overwhelmed by the whole thing and think people are angry with them. You beat me, Alan, because I was going to ask you if you offered training programs. It sounds like you do. What is a training scenario like, and what goals are you able to achieve at the end of one of your sessions?
Okay. Our training is very straightforward. We are travel professionals. We only do the travel and hospitality industry. Training's all online. It's available 24/7. It's figured for any educational level. It's available in English and Spanish. And it's on self-paced. So that if you got somebody clocking on for a shift, they've only got 10 minutes, they can do 10 minutes, they can clock on again the next day and pick up where they left off. We've tried to make it as easily accessible for hospitality staff as possible. We've also, the other thing that's big is that we've made it specific. The curriculum for each job description is different. So why would hotel staff need to know the same information as airline air crews? They don't.
Right.
You nail it down. For hotels, we've got management and admin. We've got front desk. We've got sales. We've got food and beverage service. You tailor it to those individual job descriptions, you've cut down the amount of time that it takes to deliver the necessary information. So, sorry, I probably meandered there, Glenn.
No, that's all right, Alan. What's interesting is if you look on your website, you have certification that's available on 3 different levels: Autism Aware, Autism Ready, and Autism Double Checked. I think that's great for hoteliers to get involved in. When they get the certification, what does that practically mean? Does it open them up to an audience of travelers that might be looking for this certification? And if so, how do you pair those two groups together?
Well, it's particularly with hotels when they go through the certification. Let me give you the levels of certification. The first one, Autism Aware, is generally what would fall within what you'd ask for in corporate social responsibility. It explains what autism is. That's great. If that is all that people want to do it. That takes you so far. The Autism Ready is where the training has been taken through to be job specific, and now does offer illustrations of what needs to be done in a particular situation as it arises. The double check part is where we curate that information that I spoke of. It's which are the quietest rooms in the hotel, the ones facing the pool or the ones without the pool view.
Now I know why I get stuck next to the ice machine all the time, because they're helping families with autistic kids.
Realistically, it's can you request the room at the end of a corridor,
right,
where you've only got a neighbor on one side, and if you're at the end of a corridor, you're likely away from the elevators and the ice machines. If that facility is available, put it into this curated guide. So that's the top level of certification, or Autism Double Checked. For properties that do that, we will put them in touch with local autism support organizations. Organization depends on the locality. Some are more active in one place than another. And we'll ask the property, find a soft weekend, a weekend when you're really desperate to get more bodies in there. Take it to we'll introduce them to the organization, and the organization will go out to their community and say, hey, we've got a great opportunity here. It's XYZ property. It's a great room rate because it's a soft weekend.
Mhm.
There'll be other special needs families there so that you will feel some support from that. And it is a great way to practice staying at a hotel. Because believe it or not, a lot of these kids have never stayed in a hotel room before.
Right, that makes sense because parents are reluctant to put their families into that type of environment because of the stigma, number one, and number two, if something gets out of control, it's difficult to do that under the public scrutiny.
Yeah, but it's this practice hotel stay. It's born out of experience from practice airport boarding, but it is that same thing. If you can aggregate people from the community and find a weekend where, again, look at it. If it's a soft weekend, that's going to be the quietest weekend. That's going to be the least crowded weekend, attractive to that audience. Right. And that really is our way of introducing the one to the other. We will put on, for sales associates, we'll put on some extra training sessions on a webinar basis of how do you reach out to the autism community and some specific actions the salespeople can take to get greater penetration into the market.
That's excellent, Anthony. I think that's a fantastic idea that we're talking about. You know, we've been discussing the whole notion of staycations over this last year, how to get people to come out. They're reluctant to get on airplanes. Why not fill one of your weekends by connecting with an autism group within your neighborhood to help put heads in beds and do the right thing, right?
And do the right thing is the most important thing. And, you know, we when we run businesses, we forget whether you're in a wheelchair, whether you have autism, we forget about people that have special challenges and needs. And thank you for your advocacy, and thank you for being on here and telling everyone about it, because it's important and we don't pay attention to it enough.
Anthony, let me throw in a further thought there, which is, as much as our training is focused on this is what you need to do to take account of people with autism, the lessons that people can extrapolate from it do serve them very well when they're dealing with any other special need. It's getting the mindset right for people that are different. Autism impacts 1 in 54. We've built a world, 53 of us have built that world to suit us.
Right.
Let's open it up to number 54.
Beautiful. Alan, I'm going to guess that you have some sort of personal connection to this. Is it right that you have a relative or a child that had autism and you found difficulties finding a good logic?
Exactly that. It's Glenn. I've been in travel for I don't know how long. I'm frightened to say, it dates me. But we took our son on vacation. It became impossible.
Right.
He got overwhelmed. And my wife said to me something about the cost of this trip. She said, I can no longer call it a vacation because we're working as hard as we do at home.
Right.
I said, there's got to be some help for people traveling with autism. I came back and I searched. I said, there was nothing. I said, you know what? This is a need that has got to be met. Nobody's doing it. I guess it better be me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, last comment of the day. My facility houseman is autistic. Hired him 5 years ago to the day. Hardest worker I ever had. What do you think about that, Alan?
It's Glenn, you should have on the Director of Adult Services from Autism Speaks. He spends his time trying to find opportunities for autistic adults to get employment. Yep. Some of the issues that come up with autism really are very conducive to some forms of work.
Yep.
Anecdotally, a pharmacist that took on an autistic kid as a pharmacy assistant, best employee I ever had, and the first one that ever wasn't interested in the street value of the product he was handling.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. All right, Alan, thank you so much for being here. Please tell us how we can become engaged with Autism Double Checked and how to find you online, please.
AutismChecked.com. We try to make it as few keystrokes as possible.
Yep.
I think if you just do an organic search in Google these days for autism double checked, we come high enough up.
Excellent. AutismCheck.com. Alan Day, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you. That was what a fun show. We ended with focusing on a really pertinent, important issue. We started with learning about the complete, total transformation of a hotel company. We got a little Bruce Ford time in. What a great show.
Hey, it's always a good day when you get Bruce Ford time in. Is he going to be at the Hunter Conference?
I don't think so. I think other Fords are going to be there, so we might miss out on him. He still might be recovering from this tragedy of not getting on Rise of the Resistance today, potentially.
So he's apparently a Disney geek, huh?
Yeah, well, he's got that vacation club thing going on. So.
Yeah, I really enjoy Disney, and I can go every couple of years. But there's so many people I know that are geeks, and I can go maybe once every 5 years.
Yeah, I hear you. I could go more frequently than that. I'd like every couple of years or so. I love that place. It's fun. And for me, it forms a great family vacation because it alleviates all the pressure of having to figure out what to do. And you're all together bonding throughout the day. So that's why I like it.
I love vacations where you can sit and watch the kids do stuff.
Right.
Where you don't have to stand in lines. Like I can't do 40-minute lines. I just can't.
Well, I will tell you. That's why I do the fast passes and all that. They don't have that right now because of
Oh, they don't?
No, they put a hiatus on that. So
why?
Because they're running at low capacity and they've got everyone spaced out. And I think operationally it'll be just too complex for them to do it with. But I will do that. And over at like Universal Studios, you could pay for a pass to skip all the lines or stay at one of their top hotels and skip the lines. Now that is a great deal.
Do they still do that? Do they still do that now?
I believe they do. I'm not going to say specifically if they do. Everyone look that up on your own. I'm pretty sure they do, though, because it's a great selling point to stay at one of the more expensive properties at the Universal campus in Orlando.
So Glenn, what's the best book you ever read?
You mean The Adapters? This one right here, best book I ever read with Sean Worker and myself, Glenn Hausman over there. Check it out.
Have you read every page of that book?
I have read every page of that book. As a matter of fact, I got to read it again right now because I'm getting a little soft on some of the factoids in there, and we're starting our PR stuff coming up in the next week or two. So I got to get sharp on that. You know. Should we wrap this thing up today? What do you think?
Let's wrap it up, Glenn.
Wrap it up, everybody. Tomorrow, we got the incredible Ron Pohl, COO of Best Western. But more importantly than that, be sure to find our audio-only podcasts on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you prefer to get your shows. We are going to be there. Connect directly with Anthony and myself at Anthony Hotels, at Traveling Glenn, on your favorite place to be on social media. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. And Anthony, remember this. You've only got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you all tomorrow.